Let's talk politics now. And the former Prime Minister, Sir John Major, has said that forming a government of national unity may be the only way out of the Brexit crisis. He was speaking amid warnings from Tory MPs that a general election would be a disaster for the Conservative Party. The Prime Minister, Theresa May, is believed to be considering a last-ditch attempt to get her Brexit deal through the Commons after it was voted down for a third time on Friday. And if she fails, well, then a general election could be on the cards. We're joined now by the Conservative Brexiteer MP Andrew Bridgen, who said he supports leaving the EU without a deal. Very good afternoon to you, Mr Bridgen. And I believe you are one of the signatories to this letter telling Theresa May that we should leave without a deal.
Well, that was what MPs voted for in the House of Commons when we all voted overwhelmingly to trigger Article 50, that at the end of the two-year Article 50 process, we'd either leave with a deal or without a deal. And I'm quite comfortable with that. I've come to the conclusion there's no way the European Union are going to give us an acceptable deal. The withdrawal agreement is deeply flawed and very slanted in the favour of the European Union, which I'm not surprised because the European Union drew it up and gave it to the Prime Minister.
So we're going to leave in what, 10 days' time without a deal?
The government has spent £4.2 billion of taxpayers' money, your viewers' money, preparing for no deal. There's been 9,000 civil servants working on this project. Business has been told to prepare. They've got stocks in warehouses. There's huge expense being put out on this on all sides. And if business want to end the uncertainty, business hates uncertainty. I've got businesses telling me now, for goodness sake, let's get out. We're prepared for no deal and let's end that uncertainty. I think one of the problems is that there's a large number of people in the Cabinet who've been partaking in Project Fear, telling us we're going to be short of medicines and there'll be no food, no water, all sorts of scare stories. And the answer is that if we leave with no deal, it won't be a big problem. There may be some minor disruption. But those people's reputations will be trashed and they're just not willing to allow it.
You don't know that, though, do you? You know, minor problem, as you put it. Warnings from the CBI, the TUC, these big umbrella organisations, saying it would be catastrophic.
Well, 94% of the world's population are not inside the European Union. They trade with the European Union. I don't see them having catastrophic problems on their borders. And it's the way we trade with most of the world. But we don't even need to have that disruption. Under GATT 24, we could, on a one-page A4, which has already been designed up by a Cambridge Don as an acceptable interim contract with the European Union, we can offer them tariff-free, quota-free trade for up to 10 years while we thrash out that detailed free trade agreement with the European Union, and they will sign it because they've got a huge trade imbalance with us of some 95 billion euros a year.
What's going to happen tomorrow when these indicative votes return to the Commons? Are MPs going to support a customs union? Came close to it last Wednesday.
They may do, but I mean, I'd be disappointed if any Conservatives do, because it was clear in our manifesto that we ruled out being members of a customs union, the single market, or under the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. There'll be those who want to force a second referendum again. All of this is flying in the face of the major vote we had some years ago, where we gave the decision of whether we stay in the European Union or leave the European Union to the people in a referendum, and there was a clear result. What we actually have is a parliament that's packed out with Remain supporting MPs seeking to dilute Brexit down to something that bears no relationship to what we promised the British people and what they voted for.
What will you do if MPs back a customs union tomorrow?
Well, I'll be voting against it, of course, and I'll be voting against a second referendum. The only clean way out now is to leave with a managed no deal and offer GATT 24. That will give us the Brexit that we promised the British people, out of the customs union, the single market, the ability to do free trade deals. And you've had the American ambassador and the President, Trump, offering us a helping hand by our old allies. We can reconnect with Australia, New Zealand, the Commonwealth. When we joined the European Union, we cut links with our historic allies, the Commonwealth, Australia, New Zealand. Food prices actually went up by 10% due to the tariffs applied we had to apply. No one says that we crashed into the European Union, but suddenly we seem to be crashing out.
You are at loggerheads now, clearly, with people like Jacob Rees-Mogg, who at the third time of asking has backed Theresa May's deal. You're still staunchly opposed to it. He clearly thinks it's Theresa May's deal or no Brexit.
Well, Theresa May's the withdrawal agreement is no Brexit. And what actually came back and we voted on last week on Friday was without the political declaration is actually worse than what we've been voting on before, because without the political declaration saying out how we'd have a future partnership outside of the withdrawal agreement, all you've got is the withdrawal agreement, which is 2 years of transition, extendable to 4, and then into the backstop. And you'll have a situation where, for the first time in our nation's history, a large proportion of our laws will be made by a foreign power over which we have no control and no influence whatsoever. It is vassalage, and I can't support that. And without that future partnership agreement in there, it's forever.
You seem to be more and more isolated now in that leading politicians want no deal. Isn't that not true?
170 of the majority of Conservative MPs and I believe 10 cabinet members have signed the letter to the Prime Minister urging her to go with no deal on the 12th of April. That will avoid us having to partake in European elections. I'm sure the EU don't want us to partake in those elections. I can imagine what sort of MEPs they will get returned and what sort of turnout we'll have at those elections, because I think it'll be extremely low.
Word is, of course, she will try to bring this deal back for a 4th time. I'm not going to put words into your mouth, but the way you're talking, there's no way you're going to support it.
Well, I always think about Einstein's definition of insanity, which is repeating an experiment and expecting a different result. There's nothing that's going to make the deal any better. To my own conscience, I've got to make a decision that I can look myself in the mirror, I can look my constituents in the mirror, and I don't doubt if we voted through the withdrawal agreement, not everyone's read the 595 pages and the future political declaration. There'd be quite a relief that people would think we've actually left the European Union, but when it dawned on them what their elected representatives signed them into, which is a special place in hell reserved for us, which will be the backstop, that is the end relationship that the European Union have in mind for us. I think our electorate, our future generations, they deserve so much better. And I think they've been badly let down by their politicians in this Parliament.
I want to ask you one last question. Were you to back the deal, we would then leave, would we not, on the 22nd of May? It's either that or a very long extension, potentially.
And people think that would, even if the withdrawal agreement went through, but then when the withdrawal bill came in that gap, until the 22nd of May, the people who want a customs union will amend the withdrawal agreement and will end up in a customs union anyway. And if you actually look at when the political declaration was in there, it's clear that the only way the European Union are going to let us out of the backstop is if we go into a customs union. So basically all roads lead to the customs union, which is exactly in opposite to our manifesto pledges, what we promised the British people.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there, but many thanks, as always, for your time. Andrew Bridgen joining us from central London. Thanks a lot.